She was standing in front of 200 people, in a white dress, at someone else's wedding. Her ex-fiancé Emerson was 10 feet away, and he leaned over to his new bride, loud enough for the first 3 rows to hear, and said, "God, I dodged a bullet." People heard. They all heard. But no one said a word. Kamala's hand was shaking around her champagne glass. Her throat was closing. She had maybe 10 seconds before she broke, and that's when someone put a hand on the small of her back, warm, steady, unmovable, and said 4 words that made the entire room go silent. "Is he bothering you?" She didn't know him. She'd never seen him before in her life, but the way every head turned, the way Emerson's face went white, told her one thing. Everyone else did. Before we get started, we want to hear from you. Comment below and tell us where you're tuning in from. We read every single one. If you're here for stories about power, obsession, and the kind of romance that rewrites the rules, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And if you know someone who needs a story that feels dangerous and addictive, share this with them right now. He didn't walk in like he owned the place. He walked in like the place had been waiting for him. No announcement, no grand entrance, just there. Kamala felt him before she saw him, the warmth of his palm, the weight of it. Not grabbing, not guiding, just present. Like he'd been standing there the whole time and she was only now noticing. Her breath caught. She turned her head slightly, and that's when she saw him. Tall, sharp suit, dark eyes that didn't blink. He wasn't looking at Emerson yet. He was looking at her. "Are you okay?" His voice was quiet, not soft. Quiet. The kind of quiet that makes a loud room feel like it's holding its breath. She didn't trust her voice, didn't trust herself not to crack if she spoke. So she just nodded. And that tiny gesture was all he needed. Now he looked, slowly, like turning a weapon. Emerson was still smiling, that smug, practiced smile he wore when he thought he'd won something. But it was flickering now, because HyunWoo wasn't smiling back. "You must be the groom?" HyunWoo said. Casual, almost polite. Emerson laughed, nervous, trying to reclaim the room. Yeah, and you are." HyunWoo's hand didn't leave Kamala's back. Her partner. 2 words. That's all it took. The room didn't gasp. It didn't whisper. It just shifted. Every conversation within earshot died mid-sentence. Heads turned, not toward Emerson anymore, toward him. She had no idea what he was talking about. Partner? She'd never met this man in her life, but the way he said it, calm, certain, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, made her wonder if she was the one who'd forgotten. "Partner," Emerson repeated, flat, testing the word. HyunWoo didn't repeat himself. He just waited. And that silence, that patient, unshakable silence, did more damage than any threat could. Emerson's jaw tightened. He glanced at his bride, then at the crowd, then back at HyunWoo, and for the first time tonight, maybe the first time ever, Emerson looked small. "Babe, who is that?" she whispered. But she wasn't asking Emerson. She was asking the room. And the room knew. You could see it in the way the older guests straightened, the way a few men in dark suits exchanged glances near the bar, the way someone's mother clutched her pearls and looked away. They knew. She didn't know his name, didn't know where he came from, but everyone else did. And whatever they knew, it was enough to make them afraid. "We should go," he said softly. Not a question, a statement. And before she could answer, before she could even think, his hand moved from her back to her hand, firm, warm, certain. He laced his fingers through hers and walked. Not because she decided to, but because her body did it before her brain could catch up. They walked past Emerson, past the bride, past 200 people who were too stunned to speak. And as they reached the door, Emerson didn't recognize HyunWoo's name yet, but the room did. And Kamala? She was about to find out why that mattered. Outside, under the glow of string lights, Kamala finally pulled her hand free and asked the question she should have asked inside. "Who the hell are you?" They made it 3 steps outside before Emerson followed. "Wait. Hold on." His voice was tight, trying to sound amused, trying to sound like this was all some misunderstanding he could clear up with a joke. Kamala felt HyunWoo stop. Not because Emerson had power, but because HyunWoo allowed it. He turned slowly, still holding her hand. Emerson laughed. That forced, too loud laugh he used when he was losing an argument but refusing to admit it. "Look, man, I don't know what she told you, but she didn't tell me anything." HyunWoo's voice cut clean through the noise. Quiet, calm, final. Emerson blinked. "Then what?" "I don't need her to tell me." Silence. The kind that makes your ears ring. Emerson's smile wavered. He glanced back at the reception hall doors. His bride was still inside, probably wondering why her groom had chased down his ex. Bad optics. But his pride wouldn't let him walk away. Not yet. "So what, you just show up and play hero?" Emerson's tone shifted. Mocking now. Defensive. "She doesn't need saving, man. She's a big girl. Aren't you, Kamala?" He looked at her, expectant, waiting for her to confirm it, to laugh, to tell this stranger to back off, to make Emerson right again. Kamala didn't speak. She didn't even look at Emerson. Instead, she stepped closer to HyunWoo. Not dramatically, not with a speech. Just one small step. Her shoulder brushed his arm. Her fingers tightened slightly around his. That was it. But it was enough. Emerson saw it. So did the handful of guests who'd followed them outside. And in that moment, without a single word, Kamala made her choice visible. The witnesses didn't need an explanation. They saw consent. Emerson's face darkened. "Are you serious right now?" Still talking to Kamala. Still acting like HyunWoo was an inconvenience he could dismiss. "You're really going to leave with some random guy you don't even—" "She's leaving with me." HyunWoo didn't raise his voice, didn't move, didn't need to, because this time, when he spoke, it wasn't a suggestion, it was a fact. Emerson stared at him, really looked at him for the first time, the tailored suit, the stillness in his posture, the way no one from the wedding party had stepped outside to help him. And then, slowly, recognition flickered. Not of HyunWoo's face, but of what he represented. Emerson's jaw worked, his hands clenched. For one dangerous second, Kamala thought he might actually do something stupid. But then, Emerson stepped back, just once, but it was enough. "Yeah. Okay. Whatever." He forced another laugh, hollow, this time. "Have fun, Kamala." He said it like a dismissal, like he was the one walking away. But everyone watching knew the truth. Emerson had been beaten, publicly, and he hadn't landed a single blow. He turned and walked back inside. The door closed behind him. The small crowd that had gathered outside lingered for a moment, then melted away, murmuring to each other in low, urgent tones. Kamala exhaled. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath. HyunWoo's thumb brushed the back of her hand. Once. Gentle. Grounding. "You okay?" he asked. "Third time tonight." She nodded, still didn't trust her voice. He studied her face for a moment, then leaned in, close enough that she could smell his cologne, wood smoke and something sharper, something expensive. His lips barely moved. "Stay by me tonight." Not a command, not a request, somewhere in between. Kamala looked up at him, Her heart was pounding, not from fear, from something else entirely. "Why?" she finally whispered. HyunWoo's expression didn't change, but his eyes, God, his eyes, held something she couldn't name. "Because I said so." And somehow, that was answer enough. She didn't argue, didn't ask again. She just nodded, and let him lead her toward a black car parked at the edge of the lot. Behind them, through the reception hall windows, Kamala could see Emerson talking to his bride, gesturing, probably spinning some story. But for the first time in 2 years, she didn't care, because tonight, someone had chosen her. Someone had stepped in. Someone had claimed her in front of everyone who'd ever doubted her worth, and she still didn't even know his name. Kamala didn't know who HyunWoo really was yet, didn't know where his power came from, didn't know what kind of man could walk into a room and shift its gravity with a single word. And that ignorance, that blissful, dangerous ignorance, was the only thing keeping the night calm. The car smelled like leather and silence. HyunWoo didn't drive. Someone else did. A man in a dark suit who didn't introduce himself and didn't ask questions. He just drove. Kamala sat in the back seat, hands folded in her lap, trying to process the last 10 minutes of her life. HyunWoo sat beside her, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. "Where are we going?" she finally asked. Her voice sounded smaller than she wanted it to. "Somewhere quieter." That was all he said. 5 minutes later, they pulled up to a restaurant she'd never heard of. No sign out front. Just a single red door and a man in a black suit who nodded at HyunWoo like he'd been expecting him. Inside, it was dim, warm, empty. Not closed for the night, empty. Empty like it had been cleared. For them. A table in the back corner. Candles. Wine already poured. Kamala sat down slowly, her mind racing. "You planned this," she said. It wasn't a question. HyunWoo settled into the chair across from her, unbuttoned his jacket, leaned back, comfortable, in control. "I did." No deflection, no excuse, just honesty. Kamala's pulse kicked up. "How did you even know I'd be there tonight?" "I saw your name on the guest list." Her stomach dropped. "You... what?" "The guest list," he repeated calmly. "I wasn't invited. Wasn't supposed to be there." She stared at him. "Then why?" "Because I saw your name." Her breath caught. "You don't know me." He tilted his head slightly, like he was considering how much to say. "I know more than you think." Kamala's hands tightened around her wine glass. "That's not an answer." "No," he agreed. "It's not." Silence stretched between them. Not uncomfortable, but charged, like the air before a storm. "How long?" she asked quietly. "How long what?" "How long have you been... watching me?" She didn't know if that was the right word, but it was the only one that fit. HyunWoo didn't flinch, didn't look away. "Long enough to know you didn't belong at that wedding. That's not your call to make." "Maybe not." He picked up his wine glass. Didn't drink, just held it. "But I made it anyway." Kamala's heart was hammering now. Why? Because no one else would. The simplicity of it hit her like a punch. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "You don't even know me." "I know Emerson humiliated you 6 months ago when he left," HyunWoo said evenly. "I know he proposed to someone else 2 months later. I know he invited you to that wedding because he wanted you to see him win." Kamala's throat tightened. "How do you—" "I know you almost didn't go tonight," he continued, voice still calm, still certain. "But you did. Because you thought if you showed up, smiled, acted fine, maybe it would hurt less." Her vision blurred. She blinked hard. Refused to let the tears fall. "Stop." "I know," HyunWoo said quietly. That you've spent 2 years wondering what you did wrong. Stop. He did. The silence that followed was deafening. Kamala's hands were shaking. Who are you? She whispered. HyunWoo set down his glass, leaned forward. Not invading her space. Just closing the distance. Someone who's been paying attention. That's not... Someone who saw you at a gala in Chicago last year. You were wearing green. You laughed at something your friend said. And I couldn't stop watching. Her breath hitched. You're insane. Maybe. No shame, no apology, just acknowledgement. But I'm also the reason Emerson backed down tonight, and I'm the reason you're here instead of crying in your hotel room. Kamala wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, but he wasn't, and they both knew it. What do you want from me? She asked. HyunWoo's eyes didn't leave hers. I want you to stop letting people like him decide what you're worth. And you get to decide instead? No. He leaned back again, gave her space. You do. Kamala stared at him. This man who'd appeared out of nowhere. This man who'd claimed her in front of 200 people. This man who somehow knew her life better than most of her friends did. This isn't normal, she said. No. HyunWoo agreed. It's not. I should leave. You should. But neither of them moved. Across town, back at the reception, Emerson stood near the bar. His bride was dancing with her father. His smile was gone. He was staring at his phone, at a text from someone he'd paid to follow Kamala tonight. She left with Kang HyunWoo. Emerson's grip tightened, his jaw clenched. He wasn't embarrassed anymore. He was angry. And anger, in men like Emerson, always turned into something worse. Kamala's phone buzzed. Once, twice, 7 times in a row. She pulled it out. All from Emerson. We need to talk. This is ridiculous. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm trying to help you. Don't make me come find you. She stared at the screen. HyunWoo noticed. Him? She nodded. Block him. He won't stop. Then let him try. She didn't block him, but she put the phone face down on the table. They finished dinner in quiet conversation. Strange, intimate questions. Not about work or hobbies. About fears. About the moment she realized Emerson didn't love her. About what she wanted that she'd never said out loud. An hour passed. Maybe more. Time felt slippery around HyunWoo. When they finally left, Kamala felt lighter. Like something heavy had been lifted off her chest. HyunWoo offered to take her back to her hotel. She agreed. But when they pulled up, Emerson was there, standing under the awning, arms crossed, waiting. Kamala's stomach sank. How did he? He probably called every hotel in the area, HyunWoo said calmly. He stepped out of the car first. Kamala followed. Emerson's eyes locked on her immediately. Kamala, we need to talk. His voice was tight, controlled, but barely. There's nothing to talk about, she said. Yes, there is. He stepped forward. HyunWoo moved between them, not aggressive, just present. Emerson's jaw worked. This doesn't involve you. It does now. Emerson forced a laugh. Louder than necessary. A couple entering the hotel glanced over. Good. He wanted an audience. You know what? Emerson said, voice rising. I was trying to be nice, inviting you tonight, letting you see that I'm happy, that I moved on. Kamala's chest tightened. But clearly, Emerson continued, gesturing at HyunWoo, you can't handle it. So you brought some bodyguard? Some guy you probably just met tonight to make me jealous? More people were watching now. Hotel staff, guests. Exactly what Emerson wanted. It's pathetic, Kamala. You're better than this. Her face burned, not from shame, from rage, but before she could speak, HyunWoo did. You invited her to hurt her. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through everything. Emerson blinked. What? You invited your ex-fiancé to your wedding because you wanted her to see you win. You wanted her to feel small, to feel replaced. Emerson's face flushed. That's not... You humiliated her in front of your guests, called her a bullet you dodged. Silence. The small crowd that had gathered went still. Emerson's bride had mentioned he'd been engaged before, but she didn't know Kamala had been there tonight. And when she didn't break, HyunWoo continued, still calm, when she didn't cry or make a scene, you followed her here, to finish the job. Emerson's hands clenched. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you're not a good man. The simplicity of it landed like a slap. I know you're the kind of man who needs his ex to suffer so he can feel successful. Shut up. I know your bride doesn't know Kamala was at your wedding, or that you've been texting her all night. Emerson went pale. One of the onlookers whispered something to another. Someone pulled out their phone. You want to embarrass her? HyunWoo asked quietly. Go ahead. But understand this. Every person watching right now will remember you as the groom who couldn't let go. The man who chased his ex on his wedding night. Emerson's mouth opened, closed. His carefully constructed image was cracking in real time. Someone in the crowd laughed. Nervous, but it was enough. Emerson's face went from red to white. This isn't over, he said. But his voice shook. HyunWoo didn't respond. He just placed a hand on Kamala's back and guided her toward the entrance. Emerson didn't follow. Not then. Inside, Kamala let out a shaky breath. Thank you. HyunWoo glanced at her. He'll try again. No. I think you just... He will. Something in his tone made her stop. Made her look at him differently. How do you know? HyunWoo's expression didn't change. Because men like him don't stop until they're forced to. Before she could ask what that meant, her phone buzzed again. She looked down. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Her stomach dropped. HyunWoo saw it too. Go to your room, he said quietly. Lock the door. I'll handle this. Handle what? But he was already walking back toward the entrance. Kamala stood there, for a moment, torn between following him and doing what he said. She chose the room, took the elevator, unlocked her door, stepped inside, locked it behind her. Her heart was pounding. She pressed her back against the door, closed her eyes, tried to breathe. This was over. It had to be over. Emerson was humiliated. HyunWoo had made sure of that. He wouldn't. A knock. Kamala froze. Housekeeping? A muffled voice called, but it was 11 p.m. Her pulse spiked. Another knock, harder this time. Kamala. Emerson's voice. Open the door. She thought it was over, but Emerson had followed her anyway. Kamala didn't move, didn't breathe. I know you're in there. Emerson's voice was different now. Lower, uglier. We're going to talk, right now. The handle rattled. Once, twice. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She grabbed her phone, started to dial. The rattling stopped. Silence. Then, footsteps. Moving away. She exhaled, pressed her forehead against the door. Stupid. So stupid to think. He'd just... The door shook. Hard. Like someone had slammed into it. Kamala stumbled back. Open the door, Kamala! Emerson wasn't asking anymore. He was demanding. And he was trying to force his way in. She fumbled for her phone again, but before she could call anyone, everything went quiet. Completely quiet. No rattling, no shouting. Nothing. Kamala stood frozen in the middle of her room, listening. 30 seconds passed. A minute. Then, a soft knock. Measured. Calm. It's me. HyunWoo's voice. Relief flooded through her so fast she almost collapsed. She unlocked the door, pulled it open. HyunWoo stood in the hallway. Suit still perfect. Not a hair out of place. But his knuckles. His knuckles were red. Where is he? she whispered. Gone. What did you? He won't bother you again. The certainty in his voice made her stomach twist. HyunWoo, what did you do? He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, locked it. What needed to be done? She stared at him, at the cold efficiency in his eyes. Did you hurt him? HyunWoo tilted his head slightly. Would you prefer I hadn't? Yes. No. She didn't know. Part of her, the part that had been humiliated, mocked, chased, wanted to know Emerson had felt fear for once in his entitled life. But another part. What did you say to him? She asked instead. HyunWoo moved to the window, looked out at the city below. I told him if he came near you again, I'd make sure his bride found out about every woman he's been texting since their engagement. Kamala blinked. How do you? I told him I'd make sure his company's investors knew about the money he's been moving offshore. Her mouth went dry. I told him, HyunWoo continued, voice still calm, still measured, that if he so much as thought your name after tonight, I would dismantle his life piece by piece, starting with his reputation, then his marriage, then his business. He turned to face her, and I told him I had the resources to do all of it. Before breakfast, Kamala couldn't speak, couldn't move. But that's not what scared him, HyunWoo added quietly. Then what did? His eyes met hers, dark, bottomless. I told him what I'd do if he touched you. The air in the room shifted, thickened. And what would you do? She whispered. HyunWoo didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence said everything. Kamala's pulse thundered in her ears. She should be horrified, should be running, should be calling the police or hotel security or someone, but instead, who are you? She asked for the third time tonight. HyunWoo's expression softened, just slightly. Someone who keeps his promises. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. He moved closer, slowly, giving her time to step back. She didn't. You're afraid of me now, he observed. Yes. Good. The word sent a shiver down her spine. You should be afraid, he continued. Because I meant every word I said to him. He stopped a foot away, close enough to touch. Close enough that she could see the barely controlled intensity in his eyes. But understand this, Kamala, I would never hurt you. How do I know that? You don't. Honest. Always brutally honest. But you're still here, he said softly. He was right. She was still here. Still standing close enough to feel his body heat. Still looking up at him like he wasn't the most dangerous man she'd ever met. I should tell you to leave, she whispered. Yes. I should never see you again. Probably. I don't even know your last name. Kang. One word. But the way he said it, like it meant something, like it should mean something to her. Kang HyunWoo, she repeated slowly, testing it, tasting it. He nodded once. And that's supposed to mean something to me? His lips curved, not quite a smile. Eventually. Kamala's breath caught, because she realized, suddenly, horrifyingly, that she didn't want him to leave, didn't want to be alone, didn't want to go back to the version of herself that existed before tonight. Before someone had chosen her, protected her, claimed her. Stay, she heard herself say. HyunWoo's eyes darkened. That's not a good idea. I don't care. Kamala. Please. Silence. Then, slowly, he nodded. He moved to the chair by the window, sat down, still watching her, still too intense, still everything she should be running from. But she didn't run. She sat on the edge of the bed, and for the first time in 2 years, felt safe. That night, Kamala realized something far more dangerous than Emerson. She'd just been claimed by a man no one could stop. A man who dismantled threats with the same calm efficiency most people use to order coffee. A man who knew things he shouldn't know, who had resources she couldn't imagine, who had made promises to her that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. And the most dangerous part? She didn't want to be free of him. She wanted to know what happened next, even if it destroyed her.